Okay, trustees, we are live. We are recording. Phone lines are open. Go for it.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular meeting of the East Hampton Town Trustees for August 26th, 2024. I'd like to open with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag, the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Arlene, can you do roll call, please?
John Aldred.
Here.
Francis Bach.
Here.
David Cataletta.
Here.
Patrice Dalton.
Here.
Ben Dollinger.
Here.
Tim Garneau. Jim Grimes.
Yes.
Celia Josephson.
Here.
And Bill Taylor.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. Matt, do we have anybody on the phone lines?
You have 0 calls on the line. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll start with public comment. First off, we have a request from Bob Tiemann, PhD, of the South Fork Sea Farmers to construct an oyster reef off of Barcelona Point, to be presented by Annabelle Rossell and Kai Bassages.
Welcome, guys. Thanks for coming.
Hi, I'm Kai Bastis.
Yeah, I'm Anna Marcel.
We go to school here locally.
Yeah, just at like occasion, and we're seniors.
All right, so today we're here to put a oyster reef off Havens Beach, and we're partnering with Friends of Havens Beach and South Fork Sea Farmers.
So basically, I don't know if you look at Barcelona Neck, we want to put the oyster reef just like north, like on the west side. So just like northeast of Little Northwest Creek. And it's kind of there because it's a good spot to have an oyster reef. And also it's like kind of near a polluted area. So it can really like start filtering the water there.
Now, the polluted area you're talking about, what is that, Little Northwest Creek?
Yeah, so on this map, the red represents places where it's year-round uncertified for shellfishing, and blue is where it's seasonally certified. So basically in Little Northwest Creek, it is moderately polluted because of the blue, as you can see on the map. So basically by putting it near there, we're able to positively affect the pollution in that area.
Okay. You have contacted the Nineveh community and gotten their support on this?
Yeah.
Because this looks like it's right in Nineveh and Azurest communities.
To the east of it.
You'd contacted those guys, you have their blessing.
Preserve.
Pardon me?
This is all for preserve. There's no residential area. There's no residential properties
Okay.
adjacent. Yeah, they would all be to the left of
Okay, because I'm looking at that crescent that's drawn there is drawn right in Azurest and Nineveh.
Yeah, but the location of the reef is actually to like the right.
To the
of
east.
crescent.
Okay,
So it's
now
off of the golf course.
be aware, we're currently in with DEC for modification to our dredging permits. So where you see Little Northwest Creek, where dog legs pretty significantly to the west, that may be coming out and Little Northwest Creek may be realigned almost north and south there, which is going to be right in the area that you're talking about doing your reef.
Well, you'll see other slides exactly where it's located, which if you're coming straight out from that elbow.
At the elbow.
We would still be a little bit east of that, but I think if that's going to happen, we would move further east of that.
We'll either move farther east or put your plans on hold until that dredging event occurs.
I think what Jim's alluding to also is that if that creek is dredged straight out from that elbow, and the half circle of
right at the
closed
edge of the
area
half circle.
outside on the bay, that will move shift east.
Yeah,
So
so
I
we would
guess-
want to still be probably just outside of wherever that circle winds up with at the end. Okay. That makes sense.
I'm sorry. It's my fault.
Well, you guys already know the South Fork Sea Farmers. They're basically the people who are like coordinating this whole project. So we should first
Yeah, so basically we're using oysters because of their power to filtrate the water. They take in algae, nitrogen contaminants into the water and basically output clean water. And their ability to mitigate algal blooms, they increase the oxygen content of the water. And ultimately, this is going to help prevent pollution in the water and clean up the pollutions already there. Next slide, please.
And just to kind of give like the scale of how much oysters like filter the water, we have a little diagram here. So one oyster in like a day, it can filter 50 gallons of water, and like a whole acre of like oyster reef that can filter up to 36 Olympic sized swimming pools. But obviously like the oyster reef we're trying to put in isn't going to be an acre big. But like once we start getting more in the future, that would start to be getting up to numbers like 36 Olympic swimming pools a day.
Yes, this is an example of a past reef that the South Fork Sea Farmers have established. This is right in Accabonac Harbor. So this reef is about 50 square yards, and it's pointing towards the prevailing winds to help establish it in the location that it's in. Yeah, so it basically just looks like the picture on the right there. Next slide, please.
And just to kind of talk about like what is put into these reefs, there's kind of two main components. The first one being spat on shell, which is kind of like baby oysters that are growing on the outside of a shell. And the other are just like empty shells, which can be oyster shells or also clam shells. And so these two components are put into like biodegradable bags and then put into the oyster reef. Next, please.
Yeah, so there you can see on a satellite image the location of the reef. This is chosen mainly for the solid bottom in that location, and also it's a fair distance from any major roadways and traffic, as well as boat traffic. Yeah, so really citizens wouldn't really come into contact with it. Next slide. Next slide.
And I actually went there the other day, and it's kind of like hard to access. Like people wouldn't really stumble into it because you have to go into the golf course and then take like a dirt road to this like little beach, and then you have to like walk along the beach to get there. So it's not really, and also there aren't any boats there, so it's not like a super populated area or anything.
Actually, you know, looking at this aerial, if your pin is the approximate area that you're thinking, you're actually well outside of any of the work that would be planned for that area.
Jim, where is it gonna go? Where Little is?
When we realign Little Northwest Creek, it's gonna get aligned straight out here. Okay, so if this is your planned location, you're good. You're well outside of anything we're doing.
Unless that closed area, half circle shifts.
Yeah, but that half circle that they showed, it actually looked more like we were making the turn here. It's right here that we'd be doing the dredging.
No, I know. But the half circle is centered on where the water comes out now,
Yes, but,
and it'll shift to the east.
okay, they're already showing this here, John.
I know, but I don't know what the distance of the half circle is along the beach on the east side.
Either way, gosh.
Also, the DEC just approved our proposal for the 3 Mile Harbor Reef, which was in uncertified waters, year-round uncertified waters. So I think they've loosened up a little bit as far as that. You know, in the past, they would never think about it, and now I was happy to see
Now,
it.
Bob, what's the oldest reef that you guys have
It
installed
would
at this point?
be 3 years now.
Okay. Are you doing any follow-up to see what the survivability of your spat-on shell and any predation that's going on these guys?
I can send pictures because the growth on the top of that reef is incredible. You've got 3-inch oysters.
What I was going to ask is, no disease or anything on these?
Not that we can detect so far.
Okay,
And I
that's cool.
I did also get some spat on shell. We put a blank bag in that reef before this year's spawn, and we got some growth on that, which was very,
That's great.
very cool.
Next slide. Yeah, and this is basically what the reef will look like. The top layer is the spout and shell, and then the bottom layer is just clam shells, oyster shells. So basically, we're hoping that as these oysters, as the spout and the shell mature into oysters, they reproduce, and then the bottom layer of shells will turn into the spout and shell. So basically, it's going to generate new oysters and grow as time passes. And also from this, we see that it's about 30 feet from the marsh edge, even on low tide. Next slide, please.
And to kind of talk about like the visibility of this thing, it really won't be visible or like peeking out of the water unless it's low tide, because it is only 18 inches high. So it will be like covered by water during mean low tide and mean high tide.
Are you going to mark in any way the location of those? Because there's a lot of kayakers and, people in small craft around there. Will they see it?
In that area, I don't think there really is traffic of that kind.
But we definitely can put a sign up saying
Yeah.
there's an oyster reef.
It might not be a bad idea to put a buoy out there. So.
I think we could probably have that discussion about all the reefs, how we should mark them. I know the one in 3 Mile that we just got approved, that one's definitely going to need marking because it's in the middle of boat traffic. But the others have no marking at this time. But we had a discussion about, neon signs and things. Whether we should just put little buoys on the corners or something, whatever's decided, we can do that for all the reefs.
And then another question about how frequently will you be accessing that on that road that's New York State hunting property. So if you go there in the hunting season, you need to be really careful. You're going to drive down that road.
Oh, yeah.
But when would you be going there in the winter or just in the?
Yeah, we would have to still check on it during the winter, but we wouldn't like be there every week or anything.
We would definitely be checking on it in the winter, maybe every 2 months. But I play golf there during hunting season.
Yeah.
It's not I don't think it's a high risk deal.
No, I think so.
Oh, and just to kind of like recap to the different people who are like kind of going into this reef, we have the Friends of Havens Beach, which is kind of like an organization of people who are trying to clean it, and they're the ones who kind of brought up this idea, and then asked the South Fork Sea Farmers to kind of make this happen because they're like coordinating it. And then there's also the East Hampton Shellfish Hatchery, who are kind of like giving the materials and like supporting this.
Also, local school districts, us. All right, next slide, please. So do you guys have any additional questions?
So, yeah, what's the timeline? Like, what's the goal here?
Always depends on the DEC and how long that takes, but next spring would be hopefully when we put this in place.
That's great. How long has it taken for the DEC to approve these permits?
Sometimes over a year, but the last one from 3 Mile was probably 6 months. So I was shocked and pleased. Because we were trying to push up, so that we were ready for the spring and not doing this in the middle of winter, which we've had to do because it took so long.
Hopefully they're getting more familiar with you.
I hope so at this point.
Just going back to Jim's point about what's the name of that community?
Azurest and Nineveh. This is well
So-
outside of it. This is adjacent state
In-
park property.
In Barcelona, there's a very important location. It's called Cuffy's Landing. It's a well, and it was the property of a man named Cuffy, and he was a Shinnecock Indian. And so it's an important location. And then over the years, people from Stony Brook, and this is mostly in the 90s, they were finding broken vessels, pottery vessels that were important for historical artifacts. So they're kind of in that area at the end of Northwest Harbor. So just a point of reference.
But Patricia, this is a mile from Northwest Harbor. This is not even close. It's literally just a few hundred yards
But is
east.
it near Barcelona?
Well, yeah, but it's not near what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking about more where the beach is.
You're pretty safe.
Yeah, I think
I was having-
it might even be all the way around.
I don't think you're gonna have to do a phase 1 or phase 2 archaeological deal on this.
Possibly not.
I think you're safe.
But I just think it's an interesting area, so it's a good place.
We'll keep our eyes.
I would just be prepared for this site to be more challenging than the other sites you've done. It's very active shoreline in the winter. It's exposed to the north, so you're going to get northeasters and northwest winds that beat that shore up pretty good.
How to shape it, which way to point it, and then we usually tie together the bags, but not extensively. I think we'll do a lot more on this and tie them together in more than one point per bag to try to give it the most ability.
Interesting to see how it holds up.
Anyone else?
I'd like to make a motion that we support this.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir.
It's exciting stuff. Good for you.
John, can you pass me that? That's all right. Okay,
Robert Vassaluth is on Zoom. I wanted to present.
oh, there he is, okay. Next, we have Robert Valsaluth, update on eelgrass seed planting. Robert, you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
How are you?
Good. Tonight I'd like to give an update on the eelgrass planting I've been performing this year. I sent in the pictures that I wanted to showcase to everyone tonight, but unfortunately I wasn't able to show up in person, and I am not able to present those photos unless Secretary has them available.
I got you.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's see the first picture, and I'll go from there. If that's okay.
Good job, guys.
Give me 2 seconds. I'm sorry, that didn't work the way that I wanted it to. Just gonna give me a second.
All right, so while you're digging them up, I could talk about what I'm doing. So this past January, I asked the trustees to grant me permission to continue and support and adopt the project of growing eelgrass in the town of East Hampton. Early June this year, I went out and surveyed by myself the planting I did last year in East Hampton. And in that planting, it was a small planting, and it was performed by East Hampton High School the gluing of the seeds to the clams. And in this method, we deployed it in last December 2023. I think it was December 4th. And I went in June 2nd and I saw that it was growing. So I have a couple of pictures to show you. I'll give you an update on the success of that, if you're ready for them.
I'm having some technical difficulty. It's not showing them the way that it should, so just, I'm not sure why. Bear with me another moment.
A lot of technical difficulties in my work as well. So anyway, the planting I did last year seems to, with the students and the barley done from the hatchery of East Hampton, went well and is growing. So this year, I've gained a grant award from the Long Island, East Hampton Community Protection Fund, and in that award, I am given this opportunity to collect seeds and store them at the East Hampton hatchery. There we go.
There's seeds.
I'm able to store the seeds at the East Hampton hatchery, and I collected, that was early on, about 3 weeks ago. That's about 50,000 seeds that I collected. And since then, I've collected as many as 150,000 seeds by processing them after I've collected these reproductive shoots from the open water in the town waters off of Cedar Point State Park and Orient Point, which is both Gardeners Bay, which is in the local waters of East Hampton. And I have about 150,000 seeds. For this project, I aim to use 100,000 seeds and attach them to 10,000 clams and plant them in 1 acre plot in Napeague Harbor. So far, so good. Everything's working out pretty good. We have as many seeds as I needed to get and half more. So with that, I would like to ask the town trustees for the permission to have permits in other areas, on bottom aquaculture permits. So I could use these extra seeds that I have in other areas in East Hampton town waters. I'm not asking for any money for it. I just want to see if we could do this method in other places. And it's important to do that. It's important not to put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
And that's the lesson I've learned in growing eelgrass.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hey, excuse me, Robert, in Napeague, are you seeding one section of bottom or are you doing multiple sites?
I did a small section right off of Iodine Beach, which is on the eastern side of Napeague Harbor. And it was a small little plot, probably about 100 feet by 100 feet or less. This plot that I'm going to do this fall is going to be adjacent to that.
Right.
And it's going to be a full 1 acre site, which is like 200 by 200.
Hey, Robert, you've got growth on that first site that you did?
Sure did.
Yeah. Hey, Robert, could you possibly get in touch with me? I'd love to come down and photograph that. I do.
Well, I'm going to be going down there the weekend after Labor Day weekend, because things are a little busier that weekend. But the weekend after, I fully plan on going back and reevaluating, see how it did.
All right. Yeah. If you
it survived the summer well. I don't know the temperatures. I don't think they were that hot. I don't think there was any algae blooms that were affecting the area. But the pictures I sent are not coming up. But you could tell by the bottom that it's Iodine Beach. It has a particular look. The bottom sediment is kind of rusty looking. Yeah. So there's a bunch of new plants growing, and it's good. And it tells me that that's a really good place to grow eelgrass with this method because we have some success. And I'm looking forward to this fall's work. It's going to be a major planting.
Yeah. Hey, Robert, that spot that you're doing, I don't know, the reason that sand is so stained there is I believe that's a spot where there's some freshwater inflow coming into the harbor. So the waters there are a little bit cooler. You probably have picked a really good spot to try all this.
Well, I have an underwater video that I took in June that I went through. The area that I planted in with barley done is marked off with 3 buoys that you could clearly see off of Iodine Beach if you were to park in that parking lot. And here's one of the pictures, and that's what the sediment looks like. It's got that iron look to it, kind of like a little Mars effect there. So that's just a naturally occurring sediment condition in that area. In fact, all in Nat Peak Harbor has this looking soil on the bottom. It's just there's a lot of iron in the area, which is not a bad thing. It's just the way it is. So this is a plant that grew, and you can tell it's a new plant because of its size projecting out of the ground. It's only about the size of a quarter. Next year, if this plant continues to grow, it'll be about the size of a garbage can lid. And right now in this spot, there is no eelgrass meadow, but there are some plants growing, existing. Not many, but there's some. So I would expect next year that this area would fill in.
That was going to be my question, Bob. So you're saying there was no eelgrass in this plot that you planted when you planted it?
Well, there was no eelgrass meadow, which would be like a carpet of grass underwater. There were some plants in the area, but there's no full meadow occurring there at this time. But I think next year we're going to see that.
Another question.
When eelgrass is a 2-year plant, so in its first year, it's this size that you see on the picture now. In its second year, it'll be about the size of a garbage pail, about 2 feet in diameter. And it will produce seeds, and then it will hopefully reseed itself and expand, like it has in other places.
I had another question. Earlier, I thought you said you had 100. Your plan for this year was to use 100,000 seeds on 10,000 clams. Is that right? So you're going to put 10 seeds on each clam?
Correct. And the goal is for each clam with seeds on them, I'm looking to produce 1 to 2 plants. So it's at least 10,000 plants that are going to be growing next year.
How big are the seeds, the seed clams?
The clam seed that I'm working with the barley with are about 18 to 25 millimeters.
Oh, that's pretty big. Okay.
Are you going to glue them in the clam, or how will they stay?
So I have this process that I do workshops with high schools, and namely East Hampton High School, where I can go into the classroom with the clams, this glue, and these seeds, and I have a process for them to safely do this work. And they do pretty good at it. In East Hampton High School last year, the students, there were 18 students in the Environmental Science Club underneath Aubrey Peterson, and they glued 1,907 clams with seeds on them. And then a couple days later, Barley and I went out on his skip that he has, and I brought this machine with me to lay them out. And I didn't get any video of that because I kind of run the machine, and Barley was kind of driving the boat. But we laid out 10,000 clams over this little small area, but only 3,000 of them had seeds glued onto them. We used about 8,000 seeds.
So you also mentioned that you're asking us to support some other seeding areas. I would just say, I would like to know where they are, where those areas are, actually.
Well, I honestly don't know where and how many on bottom aquaculture the town permits that the town of East Hampton holds. But I know they use them for all their restoration work. I don't know where those spots are that are conducive for growing eelgrass and shellfish, but I'm willing to try, and I'm willing to try this work just to do it. And like I said, not to put all my eggs in one basket, or all our eggs in one basket. There could be an event that happens in Peak Harbor that could be an algae bloom or high water temperatures next year that will fail everything. So having more locations, as many as 5 more, that I could put, 1,000 clams out with 10 seeds each on them, maybe 10,000 seeds in each location. And we'll see how it grows. And if it does, maybe we can consider working in those areas, which are important as well. And if it doesn't work, maybe we should not try to continue that.
I would, speaking for myself, I would say get together with Barley and choose some locations that you would like to work in. Let us know where they are. I mean, that Barley's familiar with areas that are conducive to eelgrass, would be conducive to eelgrass growth and good for seeding clams as well. He's very familiar with the bottoms, all the bottoms of the harbors.
I mean,
I'm
they
a
always,
pretty daring man, and I would dare to plant in those uncertified waters from the last people that were presenting, where that big red area was. If you have aquaculture permits in that area, I dare to plant eelgrass in that area with clams.
Well, I don't think the trustees have ever given an aquaculture permit per se, as you're talking about, but we have permitted a lot of projects like this over the years, mostly in conjunction with the shellfish hatchery. And I would say that, we would follow that trajectory here as well.
That would
yeah, I
be
mean,
great.
I would like to see you try it in all the major harbors, 3 Mile, Lake Montauk, they all used to have eelgrass.
All right, could we do this? Bob, when are you looking to dispose of these excess seeds that you have?
Well, I have several other locations that I plan to eelgrass.
Hey, Bob, when are you planning on doing this work?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you correctly. I plan on doing the bulk of the work of gluing the seeds to the clams between October, November.
Okay, so there's a little bit of time for us. Maybe what you could do is put together a list with Barley of where you want to do this, come back to us, we'll sign off on this, but I understand what you're asking for tonight. Have we given you permission for that work in Napeague Harbor already?
Yes.
We have. Okay, so,
For the additional acre?
Not the additional. We gave him permission for what he did.
Right.
I'd like to make a motion that we permit the additional seating in Napeague Harbor at this time with the anticipation of hearing back from you. But Bob, I'm serious, if you could get in touch with me. I do a lot of underwater photography. I'd love to get down there and take pictures of your success or failures, however which way it might go. During, the post-planting and then some of this new seeding.
I'll second that motion.
To what, me go around?
No, you just made a motion to
Okay.
You made a motion to
support that second site.
second acre.
All in favor?
Anyone opposed? Okay. So we're approving
Thank
the
you.
additional site in that peak for you.
And we'll look to do additional sites as we have this little window of opportunity over the next month.
Perfect. Congrats on your success, Robert. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you to the trustees
Good night.
and all the people from the town of East Hampton. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks so much, Bob. All right.
Any callers?
Yeah, Matt, any callers on the line?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Okay. So I see a group of people. Rich has signed up. Is everybody with you?
Francis, yes.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. So next we have Rich Warren and Shannon Cochran from Inner Science regarding Devon Yacht Club.
Good evening. Richard Warren, Inter Science, here on behalf of Devon Yacht Club. Thanks for giving me a few minutes to present the plans for improvements at Devon Yacht Club. It's evident from your from your agenda and what you've just listened to, the water quality issues are important to the trustees. And we think that what's being proposed for Devon is something that would fall within your interest. I'm here with David Sullivan, Commodore of Devon Yacht Club, present, and his wife is here, Margaret. And Patty Garvey, who's a former Commodore and the chair of the long range planning for Devon, and Shannon from Alpha's back here. This project requires a natural resource permit from the town. It also requires a planning board site plan approval. We recognize the trustees don't have any approval authority over this project, but we think that there are interests on this property that would align with the things that the trustees are doing. You own adjacent lands that you regulate. So we felt it was appropriate to come present this project to you so at least you'd understand what's going on. And we hope that you find the environmental benefits that we're doing at Devon are something that you could lend your voice of support for these efforts. A little bit about Devon. It was created in 1911. There's a plaque on a rock dedicated to Richard Levering, who was a founder of the colony in Devon. And the certificate of incorporation was filed in 1916. It's a small little yacht club. It's been around longer than zoning and been around longer than any of the wetlands regulations, state or town, longer than floodplain regulations, but all of those play a part in the redevelopment of the site. You know, they provide sailing instruction and racing for juniors and adult sailors. They have a small marina facility that you probably are familiar with. They provide recreational and instructional tennis for members and their kids. There's a bathing beach for the club that's used by the members. They have a clubhouse for dining and functions. It's seasonal. Activities between Memorial Day through early October, and the club closed for the remainder of the year. They employ about 80 individuals. They help run its activities from kitchen wait staff to sailing instructors, tennis instructors, maintenance crew, and their full-time management staff. In East Hampton, there aren't a lot of places you can claim have been around for 100 years. And this is one of them. It's an unassuming little institution with a rich history. It's tucked in the woods, you know, out in the Devon area along the shoreline of Gargo's Bay. The facilities that they have there are fully functional and they're legally existing. They have a certificate of occupancy for everything that currently exists on the site. That's the proposed one. The buildings are starting to show their age, and the infrastructure is outdated on the site. So this is an image of the existing conditions on the property at the present time. In 2019, the Board of Governors did an assessment of buildings and the club, and they determined that in order to preserve the legacy of this club for the next 100 years, that they really need to take a proactive approach at how to protect it. Their intention is really pretty straightforward. They want to bring the facility into code compliance as much as they can and strengthen its ability to resist storm damage, and they want to protect it for the future. I actually think that Devon, the efforts that Devon is taking should be supported by the town of East Hampton. It's really kind of an institution in this town, this sleepy little club. There's no intention here to increase membership. There's no intention to change the basic operations of the club. It's really to modernize this facility. Those times change, sometimes facilities need to change, and they've evaluated this very carefully because they're cognizant of the need to preserve, you know, the spirit and the soul of Devon Yacht Club in this redevelopment plan. Last summer, we went before the Amagansett CAC and presented this project to them. We were recommended to go there by the planning board, and they offered their support for this project. But unlike other coastal protection projects that take place on the East End, this is going to be fully funded by the membership. I mean, there's other projects out here where they're doing dune reconstruction and beach rebuilding that are public dollars. This is all private funding that's happening here. It's not an inexpensive project. In March of 2020, we went before the town board in an informal session, actually not the whole town board, but members of the town board, members of the planning board, the planning department, the environment division, and we presented this project and they encouraged Devon to move forward. It was viewed as being in alignment with the town's CART plan, the Coastal Assessment Resiliency Plan. It was at that point in time still under preparation. You know, the town is looking to try to think about how buildings that are built on the coastline can be more resilient to storms in the future. We appeared before the planning board as a pre-application in May 2022 to present the proposed plans, again receiving some encouragement. Formal applications were filed in August of 2022. I just want to give you a little bit of history, and I'm going to get the stuff that's related to you. So that was 2 years ago our applications were filed. Our next step was to get before the planning board in March of 2024, this past March. Almost all the members of the planning board offered their support for this project. They noted that they required us to go to the zoning board of appeals. We're scheduled, we're hoping to be scheduled to be before the zoning board of appeals in September of this year. We're going to be having multiple sessions with them because this is a complicated project. But I think if you take a step back and actually look at what this project is, it's actually relatively simple in terms of what we're trying to do here. We need, there are a number of overlapping jurisdictions: natural resources, DEC, coastal erosion, FEMA, zoning. So every element of this project that's been designed by the Devon team is really about improving the physical and the environmental conditions of the property. It's been time consuming and costly for Devon, but they're committed to this project. So it's a two-phase plan that we're proposing here. So the plan would be undertaken in two separate time periods. So they do not want to close the club during any given year because this is a membership club. This is something that they have to try to maintain. So the phase one, which is what you see up here, would be the reconstruction of the clubhouse, which is in the light yellow, and the parking area and the sanitary system and the drainage associated with the clubhouse. And that would occur, they would close down like on a Labor Day, and then they would hope to be open sometime after Memorial Day of the following year. So they've got their contractors on a pretty tight schedule to try to make sure this works, so this way the club can keep operating. Then phase two would be the remainder of the club. Phase two, just the whole project. Phase two would be the remainder, which is the boathouse, the sailing center, staff housing, and the remainder of the improvements. So from the perspective of the trustees, why are we here? Why are we here to talk to you? We're here because we think there's significant environmental improvements that align with the objectives that the town trustees have towards protecting groundwater and surface waters. We hope you agree with what we're proposing to do. There's several antiquated septic systems on the property that will be removed with this, and they'll be all upgraded to IA low nitrogen treatment systems. With the demolition and reconstruction of the clubhouse, the existing system will be removed. A new IA system has been designed to provide better water quality treatment for the clubhouse, maximizing the setbacks as best we can on this very restricted site. Can I take this over? Am I allowed to move this? Sure. So you've got this red line here is essentially the wetlands line on the property down through here. Actually, it's the green line, but this is all freshwater wetlands through here. Whoops, don't touch the screen. And this is all wetlands here, comes up through here. There's a pipe that drains. This whole wetland system along Bendigo Road comes down and collects here and actually drains through a pipe that goes into the boat basin here with a flapper valve so water can never go back through there. So we've got wetlands through here. We have a coastal erosion hazard line that is running through here, right to the property. We have a dune crest line through here. We've got tidal wetland setbacks from here, and we've got natural resource setbacks from wetlands. There's no place on this property where there's conforming envelope. So in developing this plan, one of the strategies would be, how do we make it better? How do we make it better for everybody, including Devon Yacht Club, but also from a wetlands and from an environmental point of view? So everything is tightened up. The clubhouse is moving back from the crest of dune. We're sliding things back. We've reoriented, two of the tennis courts on the property in order to make room for the new sanitary system. We've moved the structures further away from the end of Abrams Landing Road that's coming down there on the northern side of the property. We have an important part of this project is the staff housing that currently exists in that little green half circle on the bottom. That's where staff housing currently exists. That is going to be removed in this project. And it's going to be moved more central. It's that yellow box that's up by the two tennis courts on the south end. And in doing that, we're going to be removing the sanitary system that is located immediately adjacent to wetlands, probably sitting in the wetlands. And there's going to be a restoration of the habitat along Bendigo Road, so there will no longer be a breakage in that. So we're going to be taking out the parking that's there, the sanitary system and structures, and that's all going to be restored with native vegetation. You'll see that in between those two wetlands is like a little strip between the two, and that's actually blocking the flow of the water that wants to flow from this wetland pocket on the north to the wetland pocket to the south. That land bridge is going to be removed, so there'll be an interconnection of the wetlands through there. The septic system that will be connected for the staff housing, the bathhouse, and the sailing center will be located centrally between the tennis courts in the maximum setback possible. And it'll be an IA system that will meet the health department elevation requirements that we can. We can't meet wetland setbacks, but we've already talked with the health department about it. It's one of the things we need to get from the town from a natural resource point of view. The existing cottage that occurs, that's up in the area where the two new buildings, the sailing center and the bathhouse are, that's going to be removed. So all of the staff that stays on site at the present time, no increase in staff, but they'll all be merged into a single building that's actually better accommodations for their staff. They have 26 people that live on site at the present time. There's a small apartment that's above the existing clubhouse that will also be removed. So this will be workforce housing that actually is another one of the objectives of the town. The parking on the site has been reorganized and it's been more tightly designed because we have at the present 40 parking spaces that would go to 78, but we're able to do that by not increasing any of the coverage because it's pretty disorganized at the present time. So we're actually providing better parking for the users of the facility without increasing coverage. There's no increase in building coverage with this project. There's no increase in total coverage with this project. We're increasing setbacks. We're providing drainage control on a site that doesn't have any drainage control. We've got a fairly comprehensive plan. Can you put up the plan with Next one. So the infrastructure is pretty significant. You can see here I guess you can almost see it. The sanitary system is located underneath here for the clubhouse. Sanitary system located here for the sailing center and the bathhouse and the staff housing. There's drainage control here underneath parking, pulling it away from this edge. Currently, this is where parking exists. We flip the parking on the other side so that we could put drainage control underneath there. There's drainage control going underneath the tennis courts, drainage control up here, drainage control around for the tennis courts, all the buildings. So the drainage control on a site that has none at the present time. It's a pretty tight project in terms of making everything work. But another important element in terms of water quality is that this site will not have, it'll be entirely native landscaping with the exception of one small area that's between the tennis courts up on the north side, which is an area where the kids will sit during tennis instruction. And that's this location right in here. That's the only lawn on the place. Everything else is going to be native vegetation. So all the non-native vegetation will be removed, and be native vegetation along the way. This has been a significant effort for the club. And they're really, again, trying to modernize this facility to better comply with code requirements. And we believe meeting with town objectives. And we have tried very hard to make every element better, moving buildings further away from the ocean, further away from the water, making them FEMA compliant where none of the buildings are currently FEMA compliant, providing sanitary improvements, providing drainage control, compressing the development so it's now more interior and try to preserve habitat and improve habitat on the site. It's a plan that we think will make Devon resilient for the future. And it's something that is specifically encouraged now in the adopted coastal erosion, the coastal assessment resiliency plan. We recognize the trustees don't have any approval on this project, but we would like to think that the trustees as part of the town of East Hampton would be supportive of the efforts that Devon is trying to do here. So we're here to present it to you. We've presented this to other boards and other agencies, and they've all offered their support. We are going to the Zoning Board of Appeals, in a month or so. So we think it's the kind of thing that does align with the water quality issues that the trustees are concerned about. We're here to answer any questions.
I do. So when there's beach access there, pedestrian beach access
The beach access,
on the road, so you can park on the road
Right here.
and walk to the beach?
Yep.
So will that still be the same
yes,
amount?
that'll remain. Yeah, that's part of
And there's
Abrams
no-
Landing Road. We
There's
can't.
no vehicle access down there on the beach.
Well,
Yeah, that beach access will remain.
it's the only water I see on that road and I don't think it's coming from your property, it's just that curve, it's always flooded
It's always
out.
flooded. We've had discussions with the highway superintendent about that. And actually, I got a call from Jeremy Samuelson, I guess your former planning director now, because he said that he thinks that it's an effort that the town needs to do to try to solve that, because the town has an awful lot of asphalt in that area, all these roads coming in different directions. And with the improvement of what's going to happen with the land bridges getting eliminated, is there any way I could get rid of that black spot on there? I touched the screen once and I hit leave, is that gonna do something?
Oh, I have, oh, no, that's not gonna go away.
Oh, okay, sorry. There we go. So the little land bridge that is right in here, with the opening of that up, that's going to make this have the ability to get water to actually flow through here. It's going to alleviate some of the flooding, and the town is talking about trying to do some drainage improvements in that area.
What happens to the site that the current workforce housing is on? Is that an upland?
That's right there, that's upland.
Is that natural upland, or was that raised to build the building?
I can't answer that, but the intention is to try to create the habitat along the street frontage.
Yeah, John, that building sits, I think, on locust posts, doesn't it, Dave?
It's
on posts.
Yeah.
And the thing is that for a project like this, again, I mentioned before, but this is about preserving the legacy of something that's been around here for a long time. For longer than almost any other business you can find in the town of East Hampton. Not all of them, but there are some. And it's all being done at private dollars. It's something that we think should be supported by the town. And so we hope that that's something you do.
Rich, I have a question about the process so far. I thought I heard you say that you went to the planning board supported this and then sent you to the ZBA. Is that,
Yeah,
did I hear that right?
Yeah, so in the process, the town changed planners and the reviewers. And Lisa LaCorey, who was the former planning director here in the town of East Hampton for a long time, I've known Lisa for 40 years. They brought her back because the staff was understaffed. And in looking at this, one of the elements that she found is that, and we actually take some issue with it, but under substantial improvement in the definition of the zoning code, it's either 50% of the square footage or 50% of the value of the property, a value of the structures. We're building new structures, so you can't stay below 50% unless you're going to cut the buildings in half. So we actually exceed the 50% value. So because of that, it gets a little complicated. Because of that, we need a special permit. In the special permit
from who?
From the planning board. They issue special permits, site plan and special permits. But in the actual code provisions that are written in the zoning code, special permit has two specific standards. One that says a special permit for a yacht club must have 10 acres of land. 10 acres of lot area. Lot area is defined in the town of East Hampton as being that land exclusive of beaches, dunes, wetlands, surface waters. They have 13.7 acres of property, but they have 6.7 acres of land. So we have to go get a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals, although we're going to argue that we don't have to. We have to go get relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals from the lot area definition to allow the yacht club that's been here for 111 years to remain as a yacht club, which to me is like a little crazy. But, and we have a CO from the town of East Hampton that says we're a yacht club, but we have to do that in order to get the special permit to be a yacht club. The other provision is we have to get relief from the parking, because it says for special permit, you must meet the code requirements for parking. Code requirements for this facility is 226 parking spaces, which would turn this property into a parking lot. So, and I think that when that provision was written in the zoning code, no one thought about Devon Yacht Club. They were thinking about somebody coming in who's going to try to build a new club somewhere. Nobody was thinking about a facility like this. They were trying to make it very restrictive so you wouldn't have it, but it does impact the ability for Devon Yacht Club to redevelop in some sense. We don't believe that the provision actually is applicable, but we're going to have a memorandum that's going to get supplied to the zoning board of appeals, because in order for the planning board to take their next step, is we have to get those two issues clarified.
So
I believe we're going to be successful. I actually do, because I don't think anybody wants to see Devon Yacht Club go away. At least I hope not. And I think that the two sections of the code that we're talking about are really unreasonable. No one ever thought about something like this.
So
They were aimed, this is my interpretation, they were aimed for a new yacht club, a new marina, or things like this. And what this could be compared to, I don't want to bring religion into this, but if, let's say, you're rebuilding a church, there's virtually no existing churches in this town that actually can fulfill the parking requirements. And historically, the town planning board or planning department has somewhat overlooked that parking density, given the fact that it's very short term. And a lot of times in reality, I mean, I've been down to Devon over the years, many times. I mean, I've been on the Lazy Point committee since I've been on the board. I'm down there constantly, sometimes in the middle of the summer, sometimes, spring, fall. I don't think I've ever seen that place where you guys were like spilling out. It's pretty well contained, and given the fact that your membership is more or less static at this point, really, where's the growth?
Right. And if you took it to its extreme, the imposition of this 50% dollar limitation with aging structures means that you're essentially condemning the use for the future, because nothing lasts forever. Here they're looking to modernize this facility. It was built a long time ago, and they're actually trying to make it so it's more practical for the operations that are now operating in 2024 there. There's no change in use here. The building's going to be new. The buildings and they've been very careful with their architects to try to design something that's within the context of what's there. So they're sensitive to that, because they look at the soul and the integrity of the club, and they have 400 people that they're responsible to address. This isn't like dealing with just a homeowner. So it's been a long, expensive, choreographed effort on the part of all the trades that have been involved in it. So what we're hoping is that the trustees would be supportive of the water quality types of things. And we know you don't approve this project because it's not before you for any kind of improvement. I think they've been good neighbors for the trustees. I think, over the years, they've had to get permits from you for different things, bulkheads and dredging and those kind of things. And I think that, and I know my office has done them since sometime the mid 80s for Devon Yacht Club with you guys. And I think that they've been an honorable group. And every time that I have to deal with the people at Devon Yacht Club, they say what they're going to do, and then they follow up and they do it. So.
If I can make a comment, I've been, this is my committee, this area. I've been down there for the last 8 years. Before that, over the years, I've been to Devon Yacht Club numerous times for everything from mutual aid on ambulance calls to whatever. They've been here for a long time. They've been good neighbors. They've been good stewards, I think, of the property that they have down there. And it does trouble me that our planning board doesn't embrace project like this as a legacy. Is it a major rebuild? Yeah, it's significant rebuild, but here's the alternative. Is the club could opt to keep things as they are and perhaps peck away at their existing structures, renovate them one at a time, which in some ways would be a little disingenuous, because the hard reality here is, and this is where whatever redevelopment of this project has a direct and immediate impact on trustee bottomland and resources the trustees own. We currently have septic systems down there that are essentially teabagging in the groundwater. This is an opportunity to rectify that. To me, it's a plus thing. I mean, our role as stewards of the land is to oversee our water bodies, and this being in its adjacent nature is very much, in interest to us. And personally, I think it would be good for our board to support the efforts of Devon.
But, Jim, I just, you seem to say that the planning board's not supporting this.
I was going to make the one correction.
I'm sorry.
Actually, the planning board actually is supportive. We went before them, and we've been before them a couple of times, before we filed the application and then for two sessions after. And at the last planning board meeting in March, 6 of the 7 members raised their hands and said we're in support of this project. And they actually we talked about the details of it, and it was a roundtable discussion, because it's been an expensive process for Devon, and they were kind of at a point like, where are we going with this? We need to get an understanding the town actually wants us here, or should we just continue to operate the way we've been operating, and we'll leave this headache for some future generation. They don't really feel that that's appropriate for them as a board to think about, we're just going to forget about the legacy, we're going to put blinders on and keep operating. So the planning board has actually been supportive. We've struggled a little bit with the planning department to try to get memos and try to get scheduled for the zoning board of appeals. I know that they're very busy. We are hoping to be before the zoning board of appeals in September. And we've arranged with the zoning board of appeals that typically go to the ZBA and you stand at this podium and talk to the ZBA, they give you like 20 minutes and then they close the hearing and you're done. Can't really do that with a project like this. We first need to let them understand it. They can't be bean counters about the individual setbacks of what's going on here. There's a bigger picture of what's happening with this project. So we intend to have some general discussion with them, let them ask some questions. Then we'll get into the meat of the variances that we need from them. But we haven't had that opportunity yet with the zoning board. We're going to start that, we believe, in September. But the planning board actually has been good. We've had good. So
nobody create any issues with
No. I just see one of them back here, so I just want to make sure that the record's clear.
I mean, the way I hear this is, there is general support for the concept here, but everybody sort of has to clean up the details of the way the town codes are written.
Yeah, it would seem to me that just becoming FEMA compliant would be a huge expense.
Yeah.
It probably exceeds the 50% already, and you're sort of being required to do that by the federal government.
Right.
So, I mean, you're kind of in a bind. This looks like a well thought out, well-designed project, and I personally support it.
Thank you. It's been many years in the process, and the board of the Devon Yacht Club, is committed to moving forward to do the environmental improvements that are actually, I think, would be great for this town, and it's good for them. It's not all self-serving for the town. It's good for them, but it actually provides, I think, important things for the town.
You seem to be going overboard to do everything possible the right way, and
I think we have to because of the site constraints. But that's what we're doing.
Rich, did adding the extra parking spaces increase the capacity?
No.
Doesn't? Okay.
No.
Your membership is frozen, right?
Frozen. Yeah. They've got a limitation.
Members legacies only.
Yeah. So this is really just modernizing it. I mean, the buildings are going to get a little bit bigger because we have to put in fire suppression. Some of the mechanicals have to go up on the floors.
Yeah.
We've got an office for the staff right now that's 484 square feet that runs Devon Yacht Club. mean, that's the size of like a little more than 2 parking spaces. When you think about how big of an office I have. So they're going to go from 400 to like 750. You know, so they've been judicious in how to keep it tight. At the same time, they're making this facility so it's modern for the future. Keeping the aesthetic and the soul and integrity of the club.
Any update to the marina? Bulkhead or anything?
That's all pretty good. That's all pretty good right now. And they do appreciate all the efforts that the trustees do when we do the dredging, which we have to do every year.
About the boardwalk, that change at all?
Excuse
The boardwalk?
Boardwalk's not going to change, but we're going to move the flagpole. That was at a suggestion of the planning department. They actually wanted to move the flagpole further landward. Could you pull that image down lower? Yeah, so the building, the current building comes out about here, so it's moving back, and the flagpole sits out here. We're moving the flagpole over to the edge of the boardwalk. It's an important feature for the club because, if you know anything about yacht clubs, the flags go up and down, and there's a little ceremony. And so, everybody stops and they stand and they kind of salute the flag at the end of the day. Flag drops.
Helps to know which way the wind is blowing.
So we would hope that we could get some measure of support from the trustees.
So, Rich, at this point, could you articulate exactly what you're looking for from this board?
I would just like the board to lend their support to the environmental improvements that this application proposes in some form of a letter to the Zoning Board of Appeals. I think that this town board should talk to each other. And I think that this has benefit to you that you wouldn't normally see. Most people probably wouldn't even come in and talk to you about this. But we actually think that it's important for you to know what's going on here because we think it is something that's beneficial to trustees. So we'd like you to lend your support for the environmental improvements that are happening here in terms of our application to Zoning Board of Appeals.
Anybody want to make a motion here?
I'll make a motion. Second?
All in favor?
Can you please repeat that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Celia and then Patrice.
Thank you.
You want to post?
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
We'll
explaining it.
keep you informed of how we're making out.
We'll get a letter out for you.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rich.
Sorry for taking up so much time.
No problem.
No, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, I don't see anything here in the new business. Go on to old business. Update on Hog Creek remediation project.
Yeah, last meeting, we had a presentation by the folks at Cornell Cooperative Extension on phase 2 of the Hog Creek remediation project, which consists of removal of some ulva, using volunteers, sort of a combination nitrogen removal project, community participation thing. And the other aspect of the phase 2 was the placement of some probes in the bottom of the harbor temporarily to evaluate the nitrogen input from the upland into the harbor in the areas of the proposed sites that permeable reactive barriers will be constructed in. The ulva part of it, they reevaluated that, they've revisited the site, realized there was no ulva in the harbor this year. And they're pulling back their application of that aspect of it. So they're going to reevaluate how they're going to move forward on that and come back to us when they have a plan. The placement of the probes will remain. So I'd like to make a motion that we grant the permit for the placement of the probes.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Committee reports. Accabonicog Creek, a request from Lisa Ployer of Twin Forks Permitting to close the trustee permit number A1-24 issued to Stephen Germain, 75 Water's Edge for bulkhead and revetment replacement, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-8-7-10. Is that you?
Yes.
Okay.
So this one we approved in February, and it had been issued, I think, in 2021, and this was a redesign, sort of. So when they first approved, they wanted to put boulders in the one area where there were no boulders. So that they changed, and they put it back to reconstruct 270 linear feet of bulkheading. They will remove an existing 188 feet of rock revetment from in front of the bulkhead while replacing the bulkhead and return their rocks to the original placement. The length of the revetment may not be extended by an additional 70 feet as originally requested. So they changed it, and that's what we approved. It's a very difficult place to get to. It's complete hardened shoreline there. I thought I could walk to it, but I couldn't. And so the homeowner actually went down and took these photos that we have now. By going down the Arms Landing steps, which are significant, and then he walked along the bulkheads tops to get to his property. I think they did a very nice job, all things considered.
I'm seeing a lot of rebar sticking out of the sand, to be honest. Look at this.
What do you mean, the walkway?
Rebar. It's metal stakes sticking out of the sand in front of the bulkhead. See it in two photos. It's here.
Which is the rebar? Oh, the actual.
And there's a close-up of it here.
So do we want to?
I don't, personally, I think they should clean it up before we close this.
Excavate there and cut those things off below grade.
It's not unreasonable request either.
Does everybody have these photos?
Yeah. No, but I'm just watching, looking at them. Waiting for it.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
I mean, whether or not this beach is reachable by pedestrians, would we have any kind of liability if someone was injured by it?
Yep.
I would think.
Property owners?
Yeah.
History's teaching us that.
Yeah, I mean, someone stopped for, in their kayak or something and got out for a little.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we would have to
Yeah.
do, is take a shallow boat and go like in a kayak and wade in. I don't have a kayak.
Where's the rock?
No, Dave was just saying if
Is there a
someone
picture
was
of
in
the
a
rock
kayak
she
and
was
ended up
talking
there.
about?
That's all.
They get hurt,
We're gonna have
so.
to go
What
there.
about it?
Is there a picture of the rocks that Patrice was talking about?
I saw one.
We should have replaced that, yeah.
This one, John?
I haven't
Is
seen it.
this the rocks that have been put back in place?
These are the rocks that have been put back in place.
Okay.
But there's a section where there are no rocks.
And they wanted to originally fill that in?
They wanted to put rocks in, and the towns and
Okay, if you want to make a motion to close this out contingent upon the removal of, somebody going in, digging these things down, taking a cordless sawzall, cutting the bar off.
What's the story of this area? There's a picture of rocks and then water and then rocks again. What's the story there?
That's where the rocks, where they could not put the additional boulders in.
Is this all their property?
This property is 300 feet or something like that.
Yes.
This looks like, this is low tide, John, right here, and then that's the high tide, but that's the same area.
I see. So he's got a gap in his rock. Yeah.
It's all bulkheaded now, new boat.
So at low tide, there's a beach, there's rocks, a beach, and rocks again?
Yes.
Looks like
And
it.
there's no beach in front of the rocks on either side of this beach? And he wanted to put rocks on the beach, and that was what was left alone?
That was the delay.
Where's this property in relationship to where we bring the sand from Accabonac Inlet?
It's down.
It's well down?
Yeah, it starts getting, the hardened structure starts at the end of that beach. There was a Nature Conservancy property there.
If you look at it on Google Maps, you can see it's just rocks, groins, abandoned groins, and it's hardened shore.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's way down the beach. Yeah. Good. Is there ever more beach down here? Or is it always water right up to the shoreline?
Before all these rocks went in, it was beach.
Yeah.
Before they did it, I mean, some of the property lines there, they claim run out like 100-something feet into the water. Yeah.
Is there any upland access, pedestrian access there? No.
I don't think so.
No, there isn't, because what it is, you get all those properties are up on bluffs. And some of the property owners have steps going down to the top of the bulkheads, but that's it.
Some of those bluffs are tremendous.
Is there, how does the, whatever that was called, access along,
That's what I was alluding to, John. There you go.
is that part of an existing permit that they have? I would,
In truth, you do have a little bit of access because pretty much all of those bulkheads, especially the new ones, have that little 16, 18-inch catwalk
Yeah,
on the top of them.
but how do you get to it?
Well, you have
you
to,
come along the beach and where you have to walk
Scale
on
the
top of the bulkhead, you walk on top of the bulkhead.
I tried to do that,
yeah.
not to check this out. I tried to do it just for kicks, and I couldn't do it. It was just ridiculous.
Dangerous.
Yeah, I doubt if it's going to be, a real popular draw, but I mean, a lot of these bulkheads that when they were originally permitted, the trustees included language about a passing way being, part of the permit process. So people would be allowed to walk along the beach, and if it had to be on top of the bulkhead, it would be on top of the bulkhead.
I don't think
And I don't know what the existing permits for this bulkhead, I don't know what was written into the existing permits, but I don't know, I would say that if there was some passing way language in the past, we should consider whether we want to continue using that language.
I just pulled up a Google map overhead and it looks like there's some sort of walking trail above the bulkhead through the sand, brush, dune, whatever.
Well, there's a bunch of those things that are sort of interconnected.
So it seems like, did you see that, Patrice? Like if you went onto the actual land beyond the fire, to the walking, like a sand walkway, did you notice that at all? I'm just pulling up a Google map, just sitting here. I got the run, guys. See a little walking trail.
Be careful.
You could.
This is the only area that seems to have like a lot of rocks, these giant boulders, see, Jim.
You want
Do you want to go that route or
which route?
to approve this subject to them cleaning it up?
It's up to the board. Personally, I'd rather see it cleaned up first.
What are we being asked to do? I mean, they've got a permit, right?
Close it out.
To
We're
close it
being
out.
asked to close it out.
Yes.
They have a permit.
So we would be saying we don't think that the terms of the permit have been met because there's these rebars sticking up, right? So I don't know, should we
He has the
approve this? Or should we make sure the rebar is gone before we?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I don't think we should approve this right now.
Really?
Well,
Tell them,
just to make sure that it's cleaned up too, and then there are photographs showing you.
I'm just looking at the permit. In the event this permit is issued, is subject to the applicant or owner maintaining at all times a passing way on the uplands no less than 5 feet in width to enable residents of the town of East Hampton to pass around said channel basin or bulkhead.
That's the passing way easement.
yeah, so this would
Right,
count as that.
that's that. And the work shall be done.
However, they left with the construction of this bulkhead, they've left behind a hazardous situation that
Right.
they need to remedy
Yeah.
before we can.
So, and it's not in danger of expiring, right? It was issued 2 of 2024. It's usually for a 1 year.
Francis, can I see those industrials of David? Thank you. What
This-
part?
We brought the file, Chris.
This was the one where they brought the crane in.
Yeah, it was, the boat was in.
The boat was in
Acaponic Harbor, yeah.
And in the application, they said it was going to be above the bulkhead. It was going to, all the materials would be there. So we didn't know they were going to put it in the harbor.
So it's up to the board if you want to approve it.
Well, I don't think we should.
No.
I don't think we should.
So they clean it up? Yeah.
So
So I make a motion to not approve it,
send them a letter saying they need to clean up that
clean up the rebar.
rebar.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You want
These
to,
your photos, Patrice?
Pardon?
These your photos?
The homeowners.
Oh, these are the homeowner photos. Basement photos with rebar.
Yeah.
The last time they'll do that.
do you want to talk about 25? Number 25?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there any wisdom in talking about the removal of sort of this dilapidated, whatever this is, John? Like what's going on with all this?
Oh, those are
Why is
the-
that not part of the project?
I don't, I would say that's not on their property. I don't know who built those things. You know, those are all along that shore, between Fresh Pond and
Groins?
Acaponic, those old wooden groins up, well, I don't know.
I'd love to see all of them gone. But there are people who are
afraid of removing that because it's going to change the movement of the sand, and nobody's really sure.
And we had that thing with that groin or whatever you call it, that timber groin that was out front of Albert's Landing.
Yeah, they removed that. They removed part of that.
They removed part of it.
They removed the upland part,
The
but the
upland
rest
part.
of it's out.
Why don't you stop messing around with stuff that's in the water and it's been there a while?
But that was the basis of that, as far as I recall, was they came to us because they thought it was a trustee beach, but then it turned out it was a town beach in front of Albert's Landing. So.
Well, it's private actually to the north of that.
To the north of it, but that groin that they removed part of was south of the lifeguard stand. So the question, they came to us thinking was on our beach, but it wasn't, all right? I mean, we didn't.
No, the beach to the north of that was private, and that was an exchange between
Bell Estate, yeah.
Bell and for Fresh Pond.
Right.
But I believe at that point, south is trustee. So I think that was.
So I guess looking up at this property, if his property line ends at the bulkhead, then those groins are on our property. As long as there's beach there, I guess. It must be at some low tide.
I don't know. I think we have to see the survey.
We have a survey.
Because, I mean, is it possible the groins are on his property line and the bulkhead is behind, upland?
Yeah, but then doesn't that raise the question of, as long as there's a beach, don't we own the beach? And if the upland retreats, and, somebody's survey shows it's like 100 feet out into the water, they don't own that bottom land anymore.
Here's their survey.
And we don't lose the beach. If it retreats, I mean, I know, that whole Maclo
I think
case was.
his property line goes out into the water.
Yeah. But is that valid?
These things are all specific legal questions that you're probably better off just leaving alone. We went through this.
Well, I mean, Hedges Banks is like that. I've seen, surveys there where stuff ends at the bluff, toe, and then the house next door shows it 50 feet out in the water. And it's the same ultimately it was one property. I don't know how two different surveys showed two different extensions to the bay.
Is this the property line, the blue?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's out in the water.
I mean, I don't know if that's a real survey though. Or is it just looks like more of a map with a line drawn on it. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what the survey shows.
It looks like.
All of those properties alone, they'll show you the same thing. There's some that.
And so the groins are definitely ours.
Well, I mean,
the states, is that even?
If it shows that their property line is out in the water, it's probably arguable, I would think.
The groin next to it, like. Yeah.
Look, I think
groins aren't
we just
going
need that rebar removed.
This is 3 pieces of rebar.
Because if anybody gets hurt, if anyone gets hurt, we're going to be sued. There's no question about it. So
Okay,
that's what it comes down.
I'll get that feedback to them.
It might just have to be yanked out of the ground. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Instead of cut down, good option.
Should we put a specification on it? Because I mean, it could come out and just whack it off an inch below, and then somebody's comes
And
along.
then there's erosion and it's exposed again. I think.
Should we ask them to cut it down 2 feet
Can't
below?
they yank it out?
Yeah, that was.
Just take the complete.
I mean, you're gonna have to bring that, probably have to bring
Bring the crane
What if,
backhoe
what if it's,
back.
what if it's attached to a 10,000 pounds of concrete down?
Oh, okay, that's it.
Dig a little hole and cut it out a few, at least a
So
couple
2
feet,
feet down?
at least.
So that's a lot, I don't know.
Well, I don't know, I
Chris?
mean, are we more liable by setting a spec?
Yeah, I
In
think,
other words, you say we want to cut 2 feet below the existing grade. What if the grade erodes out 2.5 feet? Now you got it sticking up another 6 inches and we've set that spec.
So remove it completely.
Yeah, I think it should be removed.
As far as like-
Unless it's somehow connected to the dead man, or I don't understand if it's part of the
can we
construction.
say,
Can we say
remove as completely as possible?
Yeah.
Made safe.
or remove the hazard? What if we say remove the hazard of the rebar? And then we get sued and we've specified removing the hazard and they haven't removed the hazard sufficiently. Do we have some protection?
Yeah,
Okay,
remove
Sounds good.
rebar and any other hazards,
Sounds like a plan.
remove all rebar and any other hazards as part of, finishing up the project or something, like completion of the project completion.
You want to sleep on the language?
No, like that, remove the rebar and any other hazards as part of project completion and cleanup.
and as far as any other hazards, do we have to specify out what they may be,
I don't know
or?
if there are anymore, that was just a little legal catch in case there's some more stuff that came
Any other
upon.
hazards caused by this project?
It's rough because we can't get there. I mean, we
I
can.
understand, they're gonna have to send photos to
We can
approve.
swim there.
Yeah, and send
Paddleboard over.
Yeah, paddleboard.
Looks like there's a
If we really want to, we could probably take one of our boats up.
I was thinking we could maybe ask Barley if we could use one of his
Well,
boats.
Marine Patrol has said we can use their boat.
Oh, we put it on them to take more clear photos to areas we can't access, and maybe they should send an agent in at the next meeting to show us that it's all been cleaned up. You can recommend it anyway.
There's nothing like going there and it's,
Let's start with the letter. All right, so you want to talk about 25 Water's Edge?
oh yeah, so one recent one is it's at the other end of Barnes Landing, and it was Billy Hayjack presented it. It's a bluff restoration.
Dune restoration.
Oh, what?
Dune restoration.
Dune restoration, yes, correct. And it's no revetment, no rocks. It's just, so we have pictures of it, and it's kind of getting established, but it's a vulnerable spot. So it's right next to all the revetments, all the bulkheads, and then there's this one, which is a good one, I'd say. So we wanted to let him keep the permit open until there's more experience with the storms and how the weather, treats this.
What was the address of that?
25. It's the
25?
it's the first property off of Barnes.
I got 23 here and 31.
25 Water's Edge.
Is that a vacant lot?
Maybe it's 23.
I think it's 23.
23.
Yes, it's 23.
So I have photos of it and they're in the file, but we just want to leave it open for now. He's got his other permits run a few more months and ours runs.
Yeah, our permit was issued before the DEC's. When Patrice and I went to the property, we were days away from this hurricane passing by. And Billy didn't understand why he needed to close the permit right now. He was concerned that if there's storm damage, that he may have to reconstruct again. I mean, if it's closed, then he's gonna have to apply for a permit and that whole thing. So
It looks like
we agreed to allow him to keep it open until the DEC permits run out. That will allow him time to let the grass grow better and get through this stormy part of the season. So, memo was put into the file to that effect.
It's not the easiest, it would be much easier to come in and stick some bulkhead there, but he's doing it the way we would prefer, to not harden the shoreline, so.
Where's he getting the sand,
Pardon?
It's done.
It's done?
Yeah,
It's all
it's
done.
planted.
It looks great.
When did this, when did we permit this?
When did it end?
When did we permit it?
For April
April?
2024? So I think it ends like in a year, right?
Yeah.
So that's
Just want to report back
steps.
to the board.
Got it. Thanks.
Mosquito larvae count updates.
Yeah, we went out.
My first outing,
Celia,
capturing
Celia's friend.
the little larvae.
When was that, Monday? Tuesday. We found some larvae in some places, very small, stage 1 larvae. But not a lot out on the marsh. So based on our findings and actually Edwina in the northern section found similar results. Places she had seen larvae in the past, she didn't see any. And then a couple of places she hadn't seen larvae in the past, she did see some. So, but it was very spotty. So, as a result, Vector Control asked us if we felt that it would be necessary to treat. And Edwina and I responded we didn't think it would be, so there was no treatment this past week.
And I have not been bothered by the mosquitoes recently. I think it didn't need to be treated.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
There's all kinds of stuff going on in Massachusetts, this stuff, have you seen that?
I guess there's been West Nile cases up
They
west.
have any, equine encephalitis?
Yeah.
They found
Around Cape Cod or
somebody
where?
died, I guess, yeah. But telling people to stay away, stay in certain hours or something.
Uh-huh.
Well, this is the season, late summer is the
I guess
season for the West Nile and
the West Nile.
equine encephalitis that shows up.
Sort of related to this is the Salt Marsh Restoration meeting tomorrow. And I believe all the trustees are invited. It's,
Right, it's a Zoom meeting at 10:30. I think you all have.
So it's on the town email, right? The Zoom link.
it should be on your calendar. It was on mine.
I'm not sure exactly what this is going to be. PEP is involved. Nature Conservancy, Nicole Marr is involved. Then there are people from the teams that Nicole has put together, but based on what the PEP wrote as, the agenda for this, it talked about PEP, this is a PEP funded project, this part of it. So I'm not sure how the presentations will go or exactly how far into the planning of this they are.
I have memos from the original site work that we did, that Nicole wrote.
That's sort of the proposed work,
Yeah, and one thing that I had asked her about was, the groundwater, the level of the groundwater is so high. And one of her observations was if they move some of those barriers, whatever boards and things, that it could be that that would drain better and we wouldn't have such high groundwater because it's really gotten very high. So I'm hopeful. I'm excited to find out where they are.
Yeah, me too. Let's see.
Okay, so largest clam contest?
Yep, largest clam contest coming up. Got our new poster hot off the press. Yeah, so if you want to go to the website to find out more details, we got a lot of great prizes, a lot of great chowder and free clam pies. Yeah, Hopefully Forgiven, really good band playing.
Oh, yeah, they're good.
So a lot of great stuff. So all trustees are gonna get, I think, 5. And then you guys can put these up around town and tell everybody about it. So you got a month left to we're on track organizing and everything. So
Thank you.
yeah, if you guys can put these up, that'd be awesome.
We good with the clam pies?
Yeah, we just had someone cancel, so we have to get some more clam pies. But we've got our shuckers, we got 1,200 cherry stones. But
Is that what we went through last year? Or not, well, we went through 0 last year, it's the year before.
1,200?
it was 1,200, but then we ended up getting another few hundred, so.
Just like get to the height.
Maybe we'll
Seems like
get,
everything this year is twice as crowded as
Yeah.
has been.
Yeah, right.
so we can get maybe like 1,400 or 1,500 then. We still have our money in the budget for that.
One sugar.
We've got 2 shuckers.
2 shuckers.
Yeah. But there might be a third, so.
Are we good on the prizes from last?
Yeah, we're good on the prizes, I think, because they're all left over from last year and the trustee office is full of good booty. What's that?
You do an inventory on it?
Yeah, we've done inventory on it. Yeah. Yep. So, and if you guys have questions, just go to the website or call the trustee office. All right?
Should we do like a little sign or anything that just says that? Because no one's gonna see.
Yeah, we have one.
Oh, we do?
Yep, we have one, right, to put up
On,
on the property.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be at the Life Saving Station Museum just around the corner. So it should be even better, a little bigger, a little better. Just hope for good weather.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah. You want me? Yeah. Thanks.
Probably get this to Jim.
I should what?
We can
Oh,
probably.
you wanna give these to Jim too?
What about the categories? We've had a back and forth in the past about the categories.
So.
Youth, adult, number of harbors, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so that's all, I think that's all on the website, but each harbor has a youth and an adult category. So there's gonna be, how many winners will it be then? It'll be, how many harbors?
5 harbors.
5
and 1
harbors.
overall plus the juniors.
So 10,
That's 11, right?
11 then, yeah.
Now the overall doesn't get 2 sets of prizes because
Right, that's true.
it's just going to be the largest. So, say the largest clam comes from Nat Peak. Surprise, surprise. They won't get a prize for Nat Peak plus the largest clam overall.
Yeah, no.
Hasn't that been a problem in the past? Didn't at some point they did get 2?
There's been some.
When it went to 1, there was like some,
There's been some.
they're raised on the back of the neck.
There's gonna be some
It is what we know.
unhappy people.
It's kind of just it's supposed to be a fun event, right?
Yeah.
And how many types of chowder?
So I don't think we're gonna get the Bonnet chowder again because our guy's not gonna do it, but we're gonna have Manhattan and New England.
For prizes?
Oh,
For competition?
Oh, so, I don't know, they can bring whatever kind of chowder they want, I guess, right?
Yeah, we had like 10.
Didn't we
a couple years ago.
give a,
We
was
don't
there
know.
one prize or was there a prize for
Same.
Manhattan and a
People are
prize?
going to ask if there's a prize for
New England and a prize for buying?
Yeah, so then,
Or is it just one prize for chowder?
what did we do 2 years ago?
We did 1 2 years ago, and the year before that, we gave 2 out because people asked. So 3 years ago, there was a winner for red and a winner for
Who's writing the
white.
rule book?
2 years ago, there was just 1.
It kind of changes.
Changes with the boards, right?
Well, let's take an inventory of our prizes and see how many we have, and then we'll decide if it's going to be 1 chowder or 2 chowders.
Where are we getting our big pot of chowder from?
Yeah, we've got a few.
You've come in?
Yeah, we're getting our big chowder from.
We don't have anyone 100% confirmed yet.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty positive that we'll have clam from the clam bar, but I don't know about who else has been asked for the white.
Yeah, we
Who's
saw.
been asked for red.
What did we use last year? We had,
Well, last year was canceled.
I mean,
2 years ago.
yeah.
I didn't.
We used Bostwick's and clam bar.
And clam bar. So we need to pick up the chowder from the clam bar?
Yeah, I mean, but we have to make arrangements to.
We've asked them, they haven't confirmed yet.
What about, we're good on judges for the,
Yeah, we have 3 judges.
okay. Cool.
So yeah, as we get closer, we'll give everyone assignments and we'll tell you where it'll be when we get there. But usually,
High school kids again?
yeah, I'll talk to Aubrey. But yeah, it'll be like set up. It'll be start at 8 probably. Set up at 8, and then we'll be there till 5 probably after it's done. Takes a while to clean up and stuff.
It's going to take longer this time.
Maybe longer.
You have to cart it all up
Yeah,
top.
that's true. Yeah.
Oh, what about, remember last year we were kind of deciding how to get everything down to the station the night before or the more, right? The night
Yeah.
before. I forget what we decided.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Okay. Oh, we're gonna need our trucks, probably.
Yeah, well, that's what we're talking about, using trucks. The trustee truck.
You may want to do, go online and order, they make these bags for the tents. You fill them with sand and it holds the tents in place instead of trying to drive stakes into the ground down there.
Okay.
We had it like,
Why can't drive stakes in the ground then?
I don't know if it's going to hold. Sand, isn't it? Basically sand down there.
Is it? It's not compacted? I thought it was pretty compacted.
Part of it is.
Go down there and drive a stake in the ground to see
We don't
what
have
it's.
Susan.
Yeah, that's true.
She has
Yeah,
it.
I'm always down there, so I can check
We
it.
don't have Susan's stuff. She has it. That was a lot of boxes.
Yeah. We don't want them blowing away. All right, move on to administrative. The payment of the bills, East Hampton Marina, $894.82. Riverhead Building Supply, $21.69, both supplies. Van Dyke and Hand, $1,050, accountant. Louis Joe's Avalon Aviles LLP, $2,587 of legal fees on Seaview. Montauk Anglers Club, $590.84 for an oil change.
I'll make a motion, we pay the bills.
Second.
Oil change costs that much on a boat, really?
And full service, I believe. That'll include the haul out and put back in.
Okay. Who made a motion?
John.
Any second? All in favor?
Yes.
All right. Minutes for August 12th are available for review.
Oh, I looked at them, they look good.
Yeah, no
Good to me.
objection.
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Didn't we didn't we have like 3 or 4 weeks
Yeah.
of minutes last week and we tabled
The
it?
agenda, yes, please. If you could vote on them again. Yeah.
I don't know what
We don't know
the
the
dates are by offhand, but
I read them, those were fine to me.
yeah, I hadn't read them yet. I just, I
Was
had,
it the last meeting?
Table them and put them on the agenda for next
Yeah,
meeting.
you got it.
Thank you. All right, report of the clerk. I have a couple things. Tomorrow, there's a meeting for the Accabonac Salt Marsh Restoration via Zoom. That's from 10:30 to 12:30. I believe everyone on the board got an invitation, so if you'd like to sit in and listen, please do. And the latest on litigation is we have posted our bond for Seabreeze. And also Seaview, and also filed our appeal. Okay. We should plan on having a special meeting with council, preferably next week. If how's everybody's schedule?
Good.
Next week, yeah.
Well, Monday's Labor Day, right?
Yeah, the next question is what day is going to work best?
Any day but Friday for me.
School starts Tuesday.
Well, what time could we do that? Can you do it after school?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. How long do you need to be?
Well, it would be, yeah, we would do it like probably 5 o'clock or so.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
The only day I couldn't do it at 5 would be Thursday, unfortunately.
That's the 5th, you can't do.
Yeah, I'm looking good all week. We usually do these around 5 or 5:30.
You wanna try for
Tuesday's the first day of
Wednesday?
school. Wednesday sounds pretty
You want
good.
to try for Wednesday?
The 4th. That's clear for me.
Good.
So 5 o'clock at the trustee office?
It'll be Zoom.
Okay.
That probably might be better to, if we were in the room together.
Yeah, we can do everybody that can make it at the trustee office.
If you
and
can't
everybody
make
else will
it,
get-
then Zoom in.
Okay. You got Fred Joe's group to put
What
together
time?
a Zoom.
We'll shoot for 5 on Wednesday.
That's not definite yet.
I'll confirm with you guys tomorrow.
Okay.
And I need Chris's opinion.
Right? No, 4th.
Oh, gosh, that's crazy.
All right, I'm gonna pass these out.
Should we close the meeting or is this?
No. Actually, give one back to Chris, please. Okay, so this has to do with special events permits on trustee properties and liability coverage. You may be helpful here. Okay. Allison, do you want to?
Sure.
So Allison processes the permits. And she's had some questions with
Sure.
the liability insurance on this.
So currently, the trustee application language is shown in item number 1 on your page, which the trustees require a minimum coverage for liability of $1 million and a minimum coverage for property damage of $1 million, totaling $2 million. They require that the certificate also in the description section include the applicant or agent name, date, time, and location of the event, and then in the certificate holder box, the trustees are named there. The questions that we have been receiving, and I'll backtrack for 2 seconds here, you'll see items number 2 and 3 lay out the language that both the town and the Village of East Hampton specify for their coverages. I think part of the confusion is that the language for all of them is slightly different. That doesn't necessarily matter. Because I am not well-versed in these things, the certificate in liability insurance we receive from applicants varies in what it looks like. And so I think we just need to be really clear. And I would like to provide them with an example of what it should look like. So I think the question is, part of the questions that have come up are, do we keep the requirement for property damage, or does it make more sense to articulate it similar to the way that the other municipalities are, or the 2 municipalities rather, as like a total of $2 million per occurrence. So just some considerations there. I'm not sure if I articulated that very clearly. I don't have a COI in front of me to show you what the document looks like. I'm sure most of you are familiar with them. So those are really the questions.
So the question is, do people are asking if we're requiring them to have the property damage coverage for 2 mil?
So basically what ends up happening is they just provide us whatever they think this means.
Yeah.
And then we go back and try and make sure that
it's
most accurately.
Most of the time sufficient?
I think so. So my question is, on those COIs, there is a portion on the top which says commercial general liability. That's generally checked. And then it'll say, $1 million per occurrence, but then the next line says property damage for rented premises. Does that qualify? They're not necessarily renting it, they're utilizing it. I would imagine and interpret it that that's where it needs to also say $1 million in order to.
We don't really have property that could be damaged, really, right?
Well, that's how that's part of the question.
No, it's not a structure.
The town doesn't specify, they just ask for 2 million.
Right. At a beach.
But the town has properties that are very different than ours.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're having events on parks, the Montauk Circle.
But
But
they're not specifying, they're not asking for property damage.
Property damage is specific to a structure. Like if this building was rented, that'd be $1 million, and they'd want 4 million in property damage.
Any structure that the trustees utilize is a town structure anyway.
Right.
We don't have any structure.
So why don't we just lop off the property damage part and up the liability to 2 million?
Good idea.
2 million per occurrence?
Yeah,
I think that's a
Same
good
as the
idea.
town.
yeah.
Just more consistent.
Okay, that makes it
What
easy.
kind of burden does that put on the applicant?
Not much. They can either get a special event policy, which is like a one-shot deal, which is very inexpensive, or they have the right insurance. They could extend liability from their primary insurance, where they can get a COI to present.
Which tends to be a problem for most of them when they end up.
Yeah, so they get it's called the main event. It's
Right.
like a one-shot deal. It's $400 or something. $100.
Most of the time what ends up happening are the applicants will utilize the caterer's liability insurance because they tend to have a seasonal coverage and it tends to work. But on the off chance when that's not the case, we've had a lot of questions. It becomes a back and forth. It gets very confusing.
Yeah, but also the catering thing now, you can't have more than 50 people on the beach, is that right? It's catered
In the town.
in town, in the villages.
Village is not the same.
Okay.
I don't know that there's been a specific number limiting.
But the town's a hard stop at 50 if you're on a bay or an ocean.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, that's all I have. Anybody else have anything?
Well, I just had one, on the 20th, this past week, the town board got a presentation from some consultants. I forget what the engineering firm name of them was, but it was to improve the end of the pipe, the area of the end of the pipe as it entered Georgica Cove, at the end of Cove Hollow Road. That's the pipe that comes from.
The town got it?
The town got a presentation from the engineering
It
firm.
starts on 114.
Starts at 114, it comes all the way down and empties into Cove Hollow.
Right.
It goes through a lot of town park there.
And basically what their plan is to, there's that grassy area off of, what is that, Georgica Road? That goes down to the cove, to the point, under the cove. And they're going to expose the pipe in that area and create a whole biological filtration series of pools and rain gardens and weirs and things like that. So that's something that, I guess whoever's was involved in the Georgica, with the Friends of Georgica Pond and the town, been talking about it. It just kind of hit me, came out of left field for me, so.
Well, that work will actually be done on village property.
Right.
The pipe exists today. It's been there for a very long time. They tried to put some kind of filtration system within along the route.
I think they continue to plan that.
Nobody knows how well it really works, or if it even does. I think they ran a camera through that pipe.
Yeah, they talked about that. They did identify problems in the pipe. There were utilities punched through. Apparently, all that's been rectified, according to what they presented.
So I'm not exactly sure what you're alluding to. I mean, if
Well,
it exists already.
I'm just saying it's something that I've been heard around this table in the past.
Right.
I was aware that this was coming. I just thought it would be of interest to the trustees, and
We could get a presentation.
well, I don't think we're going to get a presentation until it may come to us for a permit to deal with the Phragmites in the pond. Kate Rogers actually pointed out in the meeting that may have to come before the trustees. There will be Phragmites removal as part of this. There was some in the pond removed, but I think there'll be more removed as part of this project.
We removed Phragmites from there.
Yeah, it's pretty
years ago.
cleared out, yeah.
But,
I guess the only reason I'm bringing this up is, if the board's interested in getting the latest on this, you can review the last work session, August 20th work session, and review that presentation. It's only a half hour long.
Okay.
And if there's if we have any input, this would be the time to give it, I guess.
or at least review the plan.
Yeah, it's
a picture of the cove end, right?
Right, but you can see that the Phragmites have been pretty well removed.
Wow.
That's good. Yeah, there was an article in the Star about that this week too, I think.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that's where I saw it. That's where I read that. Then I watched the presentation.
Okay, thanks, John. Anybody else? Making a motion?
Motion to close?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, get those posters up.